So every once in a while, I get a watch in for service that I absolutely love. And this is one of those watches. This is a 23 jewel Waltham Vanguard pocket watch, 16 size, railroad grade. This watch is beautiful. I mean, to work on these watches, to own one of these watches, it's just a treat. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate the quality that goes into these watches. A customer sent this in because he said it was running a little bit on the fast side, couldn't get it to slow down. So I wanted to figure out why it was running fast. And I'm going to show you how we did that, and then the proper procedures for going through the watch and slowing it down. Let's get started. Okay guys, so what did I do to determine what the problem was with this particular watch? The simple thing is I used the time grapher machine to calculate the correct beat of the watch and determine in which position it's running in error. And we wanted to see basically from start to finish in a couple different positions if the watch kept good time, exactly what time it was gaining or losing, and then we can go ahead and diagnose it from there. So I'm going to show you what we do. First, I'm going to turn on the machine. So if you look over here, I hit this red button here. It's going to turn on the time grapher machine. And I will put the watch in the time microphone. This is a microphone pickup. It picks up the beat of the watch. And then we can see over here that it's running at 18,000 beats per hour. We have about a 0.5 millisecond beat error, which is pretty good. It's within specs. But we're running at 38 seconds fast. So we're going to let this run for a little bit and determine whether or not the watch in its upright position is gaining or losing any time from this. The nice thing here on the time grapher is you can see it's very consistent, 37, 38 seconds, and it just keeps at 38 seconds now. Tells me that the watch is just set fast for this particular position, or it just switched over to 37 seconds fast per day. Now the plus sign is plus 37 seconds per day. If that was negative, it would be losing time, losing 37 seconds per day. So the plus tells us we're just running on the fast side. The watch is running 38 seconds-ish fast, so I'm going to turn this over to the standing up position, which is kind of hard to see, but I've got that straight up on the microphone. And now we're going to let that run for a few minutes and see if we get any difference in time. I usually like to wait about 10 seconds for the balance wheel to kind of fall back in within specs. Every time you jostle a watch, the balance wheel is going to get jostled, and it takes about 40-50 turns of the balance to fall back into its own power. Now here you can see in the upright position now we're plus 32 seconds. Which is still good for your average watch. We want to get this as accurate as possible. Okay, so now let's flip it back on its back. So we're straight up on that, and I'm going to turn it over on one side. And we're going to let that run on the time grapher. And if you're noticing it went from 26 to 28 seconds. So when we were straight up and down, the watch was running about 32 seconds fast. When we were upright, the watch was running about 38 seconds fast. And now on one side, it's running at 28 seconds fast. And I'm going to see if I can flip it over to the opposite side. And we're still about 28 seconds fast. That's good enough time. Let's go back over, bring it face up, and now I'm just going to turn this up and I'm going to lay it on its face. And now we'll let the time grapher calculate how it's running when it's upside down. Again, we're just going to give it a few seconds, see what's going on here. Okay, so you can see in the upside down position, we're running at about 36 seconds fast per day, which is close to what it was like when it was right side up. So that tells me that whether this is right side up or upside down, that the watch is running in a good position, but it's set fast. If we turn it over to its side, where we should typically get more friction because the balance staff itself is sitting sideways, and I'll put some diagrams on there so you can see what I mean, in the jewels, and that would cause a little bit more friction as it would if it was upright. So that would tend to slow a watch down. So looking at that, these are common little errors. What I'm typically thinking here is that the balance staff, since the jewels are practically immaculate, the balance staff is just a little dried out. And if we put a little dab of oil in there, we should see some improvement in the error rate from different positions. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to pull the balance out of this watch. We're going to oil it up just a little bit, and I'm going to see what goes on with the rest of this watch. Okay guys, I'm cutting in here and I wanted to explain a little bit of the physics of a pocket watch balance system and how it works. So here you can see a picture or an image of a balance staff and a balance wheel that is sitting in its jewels, upper and lower cap jewel and hole jewels. Now you can see that when the watch is face up or face down, and it's in these positions, face up or face down, it's going to only pivot on one location. So the friction is set in one point. And typically a face up or face down watch will run a little bit better than an upright watch or a watch facing to the side. So here you can see the cap jewel and the hole jewel. They're usually held in place by or with a brass ring set into one of the plates. So when the watch is face up, all the pressure is in the downward position. So gravity does its job. And typically the less friction that you'll have in a pocket watch balance is when it is face up or face down. So when we look at a balance wheel in the upright position, we can see that it's sitting in its jewels, and the jewels are there to offer as little friction or a little resistance as possible. However, now with the upright position, you have more friction or more contact points at both locations on either side. So physics is going to tell you that there will be some slowness in a watch that has an issue with maybe a dirty balance jewel or a dirty staff or possibly even a worn mainspring. So here you can see point 1 and point 2 get all the friction together. As we saw with the upright position, the pocket watch balance staff only gets it in one of those two positions. Let's keep going with the video. Okay guys, so let's get this disassembled real quick. We're not going to take the whole watch apart. We're just going to take the watch out of the case, and I am going to remove the balance. This is not a difficult task. Okay, so we've got a couple case screws here. Okay, so with the case or the watch out of the case, we can remove the balance. There's one screw. We're going to undo that. Carefully lift this screw out. And now I'm going to take the complete balance cock out of the watch. Very carefully. Just like so. Put that there. And this is usually a good time to go through and double check and see if the jewels are in good shape. So we want to check the balance jewel and make sure that there's no debris in there, which there is not. And I will just double check that under the microscope, and then we're going to take a look at the balance under the microscope, and we're going to see if these little pivots have any little debris on them whatsoever. And if they do, we'll just clean them off. Okay guys, it's hard to show you without a microscope, but I want to show you the upper part of the balance. So what I see here is that the balance jewel itself has a little bit of debris and dirt in it. So we're going to take these jewels out and we're going to clean those jewels. There's two pieces that are kind of sandwiched together and held in by two screws. We'll get a good picture of that, and I will show you what that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera because it's just a little bit easier to do it off camera, and then we will get this back assembled and oiled, and we're going to give this another quick test, and then we're going to start timing this watch to see if there's any major improvement in it. So I've got the balance completely back to being reassembled. Now it's time to grab my oilers, and we're just going to give this a little bit of oil just to double check that the balance jewels are oiled properly. I'm going to use my smallest oiler, and I will take that and just run a little dab of oil right on the balance jewel. One thing I also like to do is while I'm here, I'm going to oil the pallet just a little bit and put that aside. So now I've got the bottom pinion for the balance staff covered. The next step is to get the upper pinion. So I'm going to lift this up very carefully, and I'm going to take my small oiler and I'm going to put a little dab of oil right on the balance jewel and then put that back on. And what I like to do is just give this a little turn just to make sure it's not being held up by anything. So the balance staff is sitting in the balance jewels, and I'm just going to tweak this over a little bit and get our balance cock into position. And that's it. Next step is to put the balance screw or the bridge screw back in. I'm going to hold that down. My fingers might be in the way of the camera. I apologize. Okay, looks like we're good. Now, if we notice, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. If you can notice right here, this is already set to fast. And that's problematic. I'm not sure why they did that, but we're going to slow that down a little bit. And to slow this watch down, there is an adjustment screw which does very, very fine detail for the speed adjustment on the balance cock. And I'm just going to take that watch and hold it in my hands, and I'm going to turn this counterclockwise until I get this pointer pointed closer towards the middle. And if you can notice it on camera, it's right about in the middle now. And that's my starting point. From there I can go ahead and fully test this watch. I'm going to put this back in the case, so let's get that done now. Okay guys, so I've got the watch pretty much set up and ready to go, and I'm going to put it on the timer now, and we're going to test this. Let's test it in the upside down position at first. So I've got the watch in there, we're going to let it set up. I'm going to turn on the time grapher. Let that come up, and it should start picking up the automatic beat counter. It should be 18,000. Perfect. And now you see we're running about 19 seconds per day, so we're going to let that run a little bit and see how well that tapers down, if it tapers down at all. Looks like it's steadied out at about 20 seconds fast, which is about 45% better timing. Now I'm going to go and just adjust that timing screw one more time. Okay, I've adjusted the screw on the adjusting knob, and we're going to let that time up on the time grapher. Let's see what it comes up with. Okay, so you can see I've overcompensated for that. Now we're down to -5 seconds, so we're going to lose about 5 seconds per day. Let's see where this bottoms out at. And give this a full turn. There, it's gaining about 4 seconds. I'm going to let that taper down a little bit just to see if it slows down. And it's picking up a little speed, so let's back that off a little bit. Do a quarter turn. Our time grapher is showing us we're still at about 4 seconds fast. Like I said, I'd like to let it taper down for about 10 or 15 seconds. Running at about 3 seconds fast right now. Back to 4, so let's just slow this down just a little bit more. One more quarter turn. And you can see here now we're at 0 seconds per day. So in the face down position, we're running at about 0 seconds per day. So we're not gaining or losing any time, which is very, very nice to see. Well, guys, I'm not going to bore you with the entire process of speeding up and slowing down a watch until you get it timed in 4 or 5 positions, but I did want to say the time grapher did come in handy for that, and it did allow me the opportunity to time this in 4 positions that worked 100% and 1 position that was off just a little bit. This is not a review of the time grapher. I'll be doing that next week, and stay tuned for that. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to my channel. A lot of you aren't subscribers, so I appreciate it if you subscribe to me, and I appreciate all the growth that I've had from all you guys this past year. So happy 2021. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you know anybody who might be interested in this, please share it on your social media feeds. Thanks, guys, for watching, and have a great day, and happy 2021. May it be a much better year.